And thank you. And so let me start off right after saying thank you. There is so much beauty out there. And I know that's not a thing that Special Forces Green Berets say. There's so much. You're going to hear me say love probably as well. But I've met so many beautiful people on this journey. Kindness, love, compassion. My mother raised me to be a Christian gentleman. That was her phrase. Act like a Christian gentleman. So I heard that my entire life. And then maybe ivory soap. And it still comes right through the eyes and the sinuses. That's okay. Post-traumatic probably. But thank you so much for your kindness and for your love this evening. Myself, I'm the last person you would expect, or anybody probably expect, to run for governor. I was the nobody from nowhere. So it was said. And so much was said and has been said and is being said. But here's the beauty of this. When you feel called to serve, and some of you, how many of you are veterans? Okay, and veteran spouses, any veteran spouses in here? Okay, warriors yourselves. Then you understand what I'm saying. Service is about something greater than yourself. And many of us have sat back and watched this state in decline. I was raised here since I was a little boy. So some people say, he's not from Washington State. Well, Seattle is where I was raised. Started out in East Oakland, California. And some of you have heard my story. Single mom, 7 kids, pre-civil rights. And I listened to Glenn Morgan's presentation the other day. He was doing an evaluation of the governor race. And I love it. I mean, I love pretty much everything Glenn does. He's very fair, I think. I don't always agree with every single point, but he's always fair. And he says, the liberal media is not going to really show a picture of Semi Bird. Why do you think that is?
It don't fit the narrative.
It doesn't fit their narrative. It shouldn't even be a narrative. Because this is America. Amen. And what I'm trying to share with you is literally, am I yelling or am I just excited? It's my story and who I am, the kid from the inner city, and here I am, running for governor. Amen. I have been blessed my entire life. And people say, well, you were born without civil rights and you had all these barriers. I navigated adversity, but my mother raised me to be, not to be a victim. To have that personal courage, to understand my self-worth. The same thing many parents want for their children. To be able to grow up and be successful, to be able to leave the home, leave the nest, no pun intended, on their own and do well. Now, I fell and I got up, and I fell and I got up, maybe a few times through life. It's called life. But I always got up and I always moved forward, and I did not wear it. I did not own it. I accept that I'm human. I accept that I was born into sin and I have sinned. Redeemed. We just had Easter. That's right. What was Good Friday about, right? Blood of the Lamb. I can go on, but I know I'm not here to preach. I don't want to upset anybody's sensibilities, or do I? I am a constitutional Christian conservative, and I'm unafraid to stand for what I believe in. My friends, people say he's too far right. I thought I was a moderate until I started running for governor. I mean, I really did. And I had no idea that believing in something greater than yourself, but loving your family, your country, your God, that's something that makes you far right. The Constitution of the United States of America and Washington State makes me too far right. And I was just on a friend's podcast. He's a ranger, former ranger. We're friends, both special operations guys. And we were talking about this in the podcast. And I said, you know what? The Constitution. Why am I so passionate about it? Civil rights. Civil rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their what? Who? Creator.
You know the thing.
Right? No, brother, please. In Washington State's preamble, we the people of Washington State grateful to the supreme ruler of the universe for our liberties to ordain and establish this Constitution of Washington State. I pretty much quote unquote, that's our Washington State Constitution preamble. So why the Constitution? Why do I cling so tightly to it? It is because it represents every one of us. The Constitution is in place to protect we the people. And just in case you did not or were not convinced, in big, bold letters at the beginning, it starts out that way, we the people. But over time, we forgot that, well, this is a constitutional republic. And in a republic, we must have self-governance. Hear me on this, and I'm not going to give a Constitution class, although I would love to. Remember when, not that we were there, but Ben Franklin came out of Independence Hall, and Elizabeth Powell rushed to him and said, Dr. Franklin, what have you done? What have you created? And she said, is it a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic, ma'am, if
you can keep it.
If you can keep it. And why did he say that? Because who dares to fight a war for independence against the British Empire? Talk about name brand recognition. And all the money, and all the power. But we the people, 3% of the colonies dared to declare our independence. But right after we declared this beautiful piece of paper to protect us for eternity of our nation, and we gave that power back to the people, back to the citizens. Who does that? Well, we did, they did. That is our heritage, to secure our liberties forever after. Selfless service. Those individuals who were marked traitors to their nation. Do you remember? Traitors who put their everything that they had, their wealth, their businesses, their families, all on the line to step forward and declare their independence. This is our heritage. So I am vested in America, and not simply because I fought for and bled for my nation in combat, but because for my entire life, as it would seem, first as a Marine, 16 years later after receiving my honorable discharge, then after 9/11, I found myself volunteering to serve in Army Special Forces. And every time, and then federal director with the U.S. government, every time you have to swear an oath. And in the consistency to protect and to defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Amen. And so, why am I here? Why am I here? Right now. Well, now you know. To protect and to defend the Constitution of the United States, because it represents all of us. It represents all of us. And my friends, I've been spoiled my entire life by the most holiest of fathers. Oh, there I go again. Talking about my faith. And they said, he talks about Jesus, and he talks about, is anybody else ashamed of their beliefs? Article 1, Section 11 of the Washington State Constitution, when it comes to all things religion, we have a freedom of consciousness to believe or not to believe in this or to believe in that, as we choose. The melting pot, America, remember that phrase? Remember that phrase? This is America. So I believe. I am unafraid. Why am I so passionate about this great nation? That melting pot, as I mentioned. Whether you're a Black American, a white American, an Asian American, what is the common word in all those descriptors?
American.
American. That flag. It's the only flag we need or have ever needed. It represents all of us, all races, all religions, all creeds and colors. That is America. But we stopped talking about it. They took civics out of schools. And what are they supplementing it with now? LGBTQAI plus curriculum history?
Yep.
I'm not here to judge a person's lifestyle. I'm here to protect everybody's civil liberties. I don't hate, I don't prejudice against anyone. I know what that's like. I love everyone. But America is a beautiful place and some place and something that we should take pride in and cling to. And maybe that's why we're all here. Because we see it slipping away. Day after day after day. And it comes a time when we have to stop just yelling at the TV and complaining amongst ourselves and to step up and do something. I never planned on running for any office. Ever. I was in a school board, as some of you know. And of course I was somewhat nefarious. No, I didn't pilfer anything from the cupboards or... But I dare to say parents are the primary stakeholders in their children's education and in their upbringing.
Amen.
I dare to say that. You think the teachers union was happy about that?
No.
Oh, no, they were not. Oh, how about this? We're not going to teach critical race theory in our schools. We're going to teach civics. How about that one? Oh, we made that a policy and got it passed. And they said, how can you? No, thank you. None of this is political, is it? To value parents as the primary stakeholders in their children that they created? I mean, to teach a child that their color determines their outcome in life? That's racist. This is America in the 21st century. Says the man born without civil rights. Oh, I know. There was dark times. Some of you know I punched a racist in the mouth when I was a young, irresponsible Marine. Oh, and then I was foolish enough to say, I request trial by court, sir, because I know better. No Article 15 for me. I'm going there, going home. Okay, not the best decision, but I took a stand. It was a one-off. I love my Corps. Always have, always will. And I love my regiment that I served in, probably in combat with Special Forces. But America is something to cherish, and I cherish it because I've lived it. I've lived its blessing, and I will double down on that. I consider myself an example of the blessings I received my entire life. Why would they not show me in their media? It's okay. That's okay. I'm not here to complain, not blame. That's a victim behavior. We don't do that. We show, we demonstrate, we accomplish. You want to poke the bear, or you want to come after me? I see it for what it is. Stand tall, hold your ground. Remember what my mother taught me. You all know now. You know better, look in the mirror. I put that on my website. She told me this at the end of your life's journey. Whether you're successful or not, you want to know who's responsible? Look in the mirror. And if you're successful, thank God. And if you're not, pray and ask why not. And then look in the mirror and you know who still got you there. I'm a testimony. I am a testimony of the greatness of America. I'm a person who is not better than anyone. A person who is, most of his life has been rendered, especially at an earlier time, insignificant. I'm happy in that place. It's okay. Underestimate me. They did when I was applying for Special Forces. You're too old, Grandpa. I was 43 when I became a Green Beret. Wow. 43. Thank you. Tell me I can't do something. I'll find a way. And so I served, and I finished my active duty service, and I went to the Washington Army National Guard, and I continued my service until I received that honorable discharge as well, with my top secret SCI clearance. And I went to the the Department of Energy. And I worked my way up from a GS nothing to a GS 14 out of 15. Q SCI clearance, became a credentialed federal officer with the National Nuclear Security Administration. Yeah. Tracking weapons of mass destruction if needed with theory of nuclear spectroscopy. A scientist and health physicist text. I've had beautiful opportunity. I retired from the military, Marine and Army and National Guard combined service. I retired from the federal government. I taught at Washington State University as the Associate Director of Professional Development and Community Education. I've been blessed my whole life. I did get my high school diploma because I dropped out of high school to join the Marine Corps. Because K through 11, my grades were D's and F's, and maybe a C every now and then, just to say you're still in the game. But my mother would say, you can do better. Please do better. And I tell people always I was raised to be an American and not an Americant. She reminded me of that. I got my bachelor's degree, maybe it's shared in business administration, 4.0, summa cum laude. My graduate degree from Villanova, 3.74. I'm not bragging. Remember, I'm a high school dropout. So the pride comes from opportunity. Martin Luther King fought for and died for the soul of America. Martin Luther King fought for equality of opportunity, not equity of outcome. This is Dr. King's sacrifice for all of us. That's civil rights in our Constitution. I'm testifying that we the people can and will once again take back our republic. My friends, do not quit, do not give up, do not let anybody tell you what you can or cannot do. 3% of the colony, remember that, stood up against the most powerful nation on earth and defeated them. They had all the money, all the resources, all the men, all the guns, all the bullets. How did they do this? Heart and passion for freedom and liberty. That's what they did. And leaders like General Washington, do you think that leader had passion for freedom and liberty? Because think about this in your candidates. Do you want a candidate that can elicit, motivate, and inspire people to action at a time where voter integrity, election integrity is questioned at every turn? Where people aren't voting? Where people are turned on one another and dividing along race, ideology, and anything else they can think of to divide us? A nation divided cannot stand, said Abraham Lincoln. Here's what I say that Abraham Lincoln said that I would remind you of the people, by the people, for the people. Look for a candidate of the people. Not a candidate has deemed viable for you, but a candidate that we, the people, deem viable for us. That is America. We are America. And I'll tell you what, for those of you who are willing to stand for the flag, for the Constitution, for our American values, it's not about money. It's not about power. It's not about control. It's about a future, again, for our children and grandchildren. It's about preserving everything that our nation stands for. They're taking our national identity every single day. It's worth fighting for. For me, it was worth dying for. They don't give you a Bronze Star of Valor and a Purple Heart for staying in the barracks and getting your feelings hurt, no matter what anybody tells you. I asked for no medals. I asked for no accolades. I asked for nothing. I asked only for your support, for your prayers, and for you to have faith in yourself, in one another, and I would say in me to accomplish the mission. I was trained for this my entire life. And I'm equal to the task because I have a resume to do the job. I'm going to work. And now I'm applying for a job. And you are my interview panel. Hired. I'm going to take that as a questions, if that is okay.
Yes.
Because I love that. I probably talked way too long, so you have to turn this off sometimes.
That's just fine. And just, if you have any other questions you want to ask, there's more cards in the back. You can just pass them up. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through these. Why don't we start with I like this one. What are you going to do to reduce the tax burden on the citizens of Washington State?
Oh my goodness, we'll start with our small business owners. We pay too much in employment taxes, employment payroll taxes. We have B&O taxes. So there's so many taxes that small business owners pay. Some of us have paid quarterlies. Some of us have had employees. You realize 50.7% of all people in this state who actually work for small business owners. They are the lifeblood of our state's economy. So, well, I'm not going to pass any tax increases on my first term. And it's not that it's going to be followed up with tax increases. Day one, I'm doing a third-party audit of all state programs and all state offices because I know we're burning through billions of dollars, wasting it. And I plan on giving tax relief back to the citizens of Washington State. So I will be giving money back to our small business owners and to our citizens. So there's that. Get no more taxes, no more increases. I also am not a fan of tolls. I think tolls are an extortion when you have to get people from A to B, where we already have choke points of congestion. Why are we doing that? Why are we pricing our seniors out of their homes? And they're trying to raise it from 1% to 3% when we did a cap in 2007 at 1% with that initiative 747. I can go on, but I'll stop there. I like to go down the rabbit hole in answers.
Can you address the loss of small farms in Washington State and what can be done about it?
Yeah, so on our farms, maximum revenue generated in our agriculture community is about $15.5 billion. Well, the cost of operating is about $11.5 billion, more or less. So we have to start supporting our growers. It's still the number 2 industry. We started out as the number 1 industry. And so supporting our growers and our ranchers, honoring and respecting their water rights. When I say this, someone said, well, this is innate and they should have that. Okay, that's nice, that's true, and I agree with that. But the Department of Ecology is being weaponized against our growers. I'm not sure if you guys understand that. Well, we need to pull back those regulations. And then we also have the H2 program where we have the big corporations, the big agriculture growers, and that rate is like $19 and something cents that gets passed down. So the smaller organizations are having to try to match that or meet that. If I'm making sense. Trying to get the labor that they need to do the job at a time. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. There is not enough migrant workers to go around nowadays. We're at a decline on migrant workers. So we need to incentivize this. And we start by lowering that cost. The minimum wage hike was the wrong thing to do. And they recently changed law, you probably are tracking on this, right? Where they said the overtime, once you hit a certain amount, it's mandatory. And even the workers themselves says no, and they protested in Olympia, said we don't want this because it's hurting their earning opportunity. Right. So there's a lot of things that we can do to support deregulations, incentivize. This is food security we're talking about. It's a huge part of our exportation for Washington State. Farmers are paying enough, and they're supporting our national security. Food security is national security. Again, there's a lot I can say about this. You can tell I am, well, I don't act like I know anything, but I know a few things.
Okay, what about, how are you going to address homelessness and addiction?
Yeah, so I'm glad they put those two right there, because that's exactly it. The root cause of homelessness is addiction and mental health. Addiction and mental health. It's not housing. So there are those rare or small percentage of situations where people will find themselves, as they call it, unhoused. We have shelters for that, and we have programs for that. I know I've consulted those boards of these amazing organizations, and they have so many resources to support those people. But when you're shooting up with fentanyl and horse tranquilizer, called Trink, and parts of your body are falling off, or flesh degrading, that should indicate that this is not simply a housing issue. And so I have proposed that I'm going to declare a state of emergency, unlike what Jay Inslee did. Nothing like that. We will never do that again. And while I'm on the topic, I do not support lockdowns or mandates ever. Nor would I, and nor would I ever celebrate Jay Inslee. He's responsible for the deaths of citizens. He ruined people's lives. He shut down businesses. He ruined people's lifestyles. He devastated our ferry system. I can go on and on and on, but I'm not here to blame. This is not blame. I'm not trying to call Jay names or anything. I'm giving you facts, and I'm digressing from the question. My state of emergency is under Article 43.06.10 subsection 11 of the law that says I can declare. It's not taking anything away from us. It's simply saying Seattle can't say, no, Governor Bird, you cannot come in here and remove the homeless camps, because I'm removing the homeless camps. And it's not taking the guard out in the streets like Hochul did in the subways because she refused to honor and respect law enforcement for years in New York City, by the way. We're not doing that. I want to use our engineers from the National Guard. Clear 10 acres of land, state land, and we're going to build our infrastructure for inpatient care, for addiction and mental health. And the National Guard, you know, we have doctors. We have mental health professionals. We have drug addiction treatment professionals. 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. I know, I was there. And under Article 3, Section 8 of the Washington State Constitution, that falls under mine. My command and control. When I say that, I don't even like saying that. It makes me sound like it. But you get it. So we're going to put them to work, helping, getting these people clean. And then we're going to bring jobs and certification. And then when they graduate from the program, they meet with their families and they report to work on Monday and they become taxpayers. But they're clean and they have their lives back. Let me just end that with this. I lost my nephew a year ago to a fentanyl overdose or poisoning. When you have a child or a loved one that's in the streets addicted to opioids, I promise you this, you will say, lock them up. I don't care about their rights, lock them up. I would rather them be in jail and alive than dead on the streets. Giving them needles and calling it compassion, you're complicit in the slow deaths of our brothers and sisters, our citizens and our loved ones. No more. That is why that state of emergency. It's just to give me the authority to actually do something about it for the first time. And it's not going to cost billions of dollars, nothing like that. It's going to be amazing. And if people refuse, you have a choice, this beautiful program, to get your life back, or you're going to go to jail, unless you decide to go to California. It's an option. I didn't roll out the Greyhound option. As I think about it, I mean, put that out there in small print. Well, maybe not, maybe big print. Maybe I'll start there. But you get my point. You get my point. Bringing forth a real solution to this and utilizing our state resources. By the way, we have a budget for the Guard already. You see what we're doing? So we're saving money. We're using our state budget. Solutions with actions. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You already addressed some of this, so I'll just put the rest of it out there. Could you just talk a little bit about medical freedom, especially as it relates to what happened with COVID?
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for asking that again. So I did say I was nefarious in the school board, but I didn't go further enough. I gave mask choice to parents as those primary stakeholders. To say, if you wanted to muzzle your children or mask your children, well, you're the parent. But we have the highest suicide rate. This was not a political decision. I talked to the health director. She says, no, it's not going to put a strain on our hospital system. And she said, we must consider the mental health crisis that we're in right now. Has anybody in here noticed the behavioral problems with children since they reopened schools? No. It's out of control. Maybe I said or didn't. I know I didn't. I'm a behavioral scientist. I'm finishing my PhD in organizational psychology. I'm not a clinician. I didn't get my licensure for that. And I suspended my education until after this. And then I'll restart again and finish. I've gone too far to quit now. But I know better. When you isolate children from one another, when you take them out of their development stages, it's Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Children are very social, especially at an early developmental age. You removed them from that social construct of engagement, and then you brought them together again. You have problems. So never any lockdowns or mandates short of a zombie apocalypse. And then I'll be first in line to get a shot right here. No more mandates. It's not a law, by the way. It is not a law. It's an abuse of our constitutional rights. Okay.
Since we're talking about schools, what's your position on DEI for public school children? And what would you do differently?
Well, no, some of you, well, in Port Orchard, no. That was maybe a couple years ago, or I've been doing it for years. I'm just going to say this. It's not being a victim. Someone brought up, well, Simi taught diversity, equity, and inclusion. At first, it kind of bothered me just a little bit, teeny bit, only because I'm so against it. But then I told you earlier, I was the one who made the motion that brought forth a policy that says, you will not teach critical race theory in our schools. So how could I support DEI, which is the offshoot of critical race theory? That's the theory that DEI spawns from. Right. Senate Bill 5044. I will reverse that, meaning I will call for it to be repealed and hope someone brings an initiative. That's working out pretty good so far. We'll talk about that maybe later. But it needs to go away. It needs to go away. It's bad for our students. It's bad for our society. It's bad for our school system. Senate Bill 344 said in order to dismantle systemic barriers to racism in our schools, but yet they put forth no studies or evidence that there was systemic racism in our schools. And had they done that, I probably would have used that and said, here, teachers union, who's apparently in control. Are they the ones who are systemically racist? Maybe that's why we have all these problems. I'm just saying. I'm not a hater. But no DEI. And by the way, it was diversity and inclusion that I lectured on.
Yep.
Diversity and inclusion. Does anybody have a problem with men and women working, cohabitating in the workplace or any place else? Ladies? You get what I'm saying? Anybody of color, Asian, Hispanic, any? I know I'm like a brown unicorn being cited. A black conservative. Wait a minute. Sorry, I pulled the. Is that a race car? No, we don't do that. America is a melting pot. All colors, all. This is America. So I was teaching how to get along, how to communicate, how to interoperate in organizations. That was my specialty, organizational psychology. Generations, cultures, and perspectives. That was the definition of my lecture. It literally said diversity and inclusion, generations, cultures, and perspectives. Because if we communicate, we do better. But somehow there was a silent equity there that appeared. No, never, no.
Do you support lowering the mandatory education age from 8 to 6, and why or why not?
I would rather leave that up to parents. I'm a supporter of early learning, big time, but I would rather leave that up to parents. I think we need to focus on academic excellence in our school system because we're not doing that. So lowering the age and putting more kids into this school system right now? No. No.
What's your position on homeschooling?
Yes, and yes, and yes. So, just in case it's not asked, I am a school choice supporter. Money should follow the backpack. Educational savings accounts is what I would use. And for homeschooling parents and grandparents, no strings attached. No strings attached. The same rules as we have. You get compensated for your curriculum, for your expenses, for what you're paying. No strings attached. And I really mean that. We'll put it in writing to protect our homeschoolers. Homeschool parents, because by the way, it's in minimum. So the average I think is 25% performance above traditional education mechanisms or methodologies. Homeschooling is the primo, if you can do it. But how many people are in that position where they can stay at home and school their children? If you have a parent who can afford to stay home, or you're blessed with grandparents, that's a great thing. But most people can't. School choice is that equalizer, and education is freedom. For all children. So.
Illegal immigration, what would you do about the problem, and what do you think about, like, what's your position on it? What would you do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So day one, we say that Washington State will no longer be a sanctuary state. Day one. I said that and I put it on my website. Or our Facebook page, and I'm actually writing in Immigration Solutions with Action. We have a problem with the border. I was down there with my friend Mark Lamb. I guess it's been a couple months now. My wallet actually has the seal of the Director General of Bangladesh Border Guard. I consult on border security. So you can ask me any question about technology, patrol parameters, ISR, so intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, drones. I got you covered. I don't know everything. I don't do math problems, but border security, I know a few things. So we must, well, it compromises our economy. It puts a strain on our economy, if that makes sense. Paying for people's medical, paying for people's care, and not to mention the fact that we're giving them money and shelter, and we're moving them to the front of the line. Forget our veterans, forget our own citizens. Let's bring illegal immigrants in and give them priority services at the cost of taxpayers. Let's talk about using the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs to bring a safety net underneath whatever the failures are of the federal Department of Veterans Affairs to ensure that no vet falls through the cracks ever in Washington State. That's what we should be using that money for. So that money, Unlike it was redirected under this administration, $340 million of COVID relief money that was given to illegal immigrants. No, we're not doing that nonsense, ever. So hopefully, if I missed anything on that, let me know. I just don't want to take up too much time, but I could.
Can you talk about the Department of Fish and Wildlife's commission?
Yes, I can. I can't talk about everything, but until we find something that I don't have something to say about. You're like, oh, he just runs his mouth, but hopefully you're getting value of what I'm saying. Well, Fish and Wildlife, the governor has the authority to appoint commissioners. And by the way, do we have any hunters in the room? All right. Are you familiar with the North American model for wildlife conservation? It is I'm not going to say the VIB to the you know what. It is the ground foundation. It says simply this: it is an innate right to hunt, to bring in food to sustain yourself and your family. It says a lot more, and I can go through all the tenets of it because I actually have read it and I wrote a white paper on it. It is the foundation of hunters and anglers. It says also that it's a management tool. We must manage our wildlife. For example, they suspended the spring bear hunt. We have a predator problem. Some people know it, some people don't. We have a predator problem. But yet this commission has a lot of activists on it. And the federal government is talking about bringing and releasing grizzlies into the Northern Cascades, which is a bad idea. And this governor will never allow it. Whoa. So intestinal fortitude and personal courage should take a stand under the 10th Amendment states' rights to say, no, federal government, you're not the boss of me. They are. Right. They are. The people of the state are the boss of me, not you. So we say no. Thank you very much. So we're going to value the generational tradition of hunting and fishing because they are the greatest stewards of our land and our waterways, our hunters and our anglers. And if someone wants to tell me I'm wrong on it, please do. No, don't, because I'll take all day going through the North American model of wildlife conservation and reading the tenets off to you. I got you on that. I think I answered it. The commissioners and the problems we have. I can go further, but again, time.
Okay, can you talk about the ferry service, and do you think it would be a good idea to privatize it?
So let's talk about the ferry service, and the privatization of the ferry service is appealing, but then again, you'd have to put regulations in place to ensure that they don't overstep. But let's talk about it. Our ferry service is devastated right now, and it started with the mandates. If anybody's tracked this, it was a human resources issue because they made mandates, vaccination mandatory, and we decimated our staff and our ferry system. And then, over a period of time where we've had a decaying ferry fleet, by the way, Washington State's ferry system was the best in the nation at a time. I know some of you are going, what? Our ferries? Yes, it was. It's a statistical fact. I'm a geek. But it was, and it will be again in a short period of time once we get elected. But we're down at least 6 to 7 boats. And the reason we're down so many is because this administration is dead set on replacing marine diesel vessels with electric vessels. Cap and trade, climate trade. Be very wary of anybody that's ever supported that nonsense. I mean, this is a globalist agenda, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I can prove it if we have the time. And not but facts. I'm a fact guy. This climate change ideology is dangerous. And so a ferry system that is based on electric is going to cost us at least almost twice as much as a regular boat. So there's our taxpayer dollars, number one. Number two, it's a delay. It takes us longer to get a boat. And here's the other thing. I support trades. But right now, this government says the only way we're going to do business is if it's a union shop, which means prices are going to be at a premium. So I support trades. I do. Make no mistakes about it. Even though the leadership doesn't vote for conservatives, that's fine. I don't care about them. It's the workers I support. I shouldn't say I don't care about them. I care about everybody. But we need to open this stuff up to bids and get the best prices for our taxpayers. That's the point I'm making. So we're going to bring in more ships or vessels, and they're going to be marine diesel, not electric. if I answered that.
Yep.
And again, no more mandates or
Yep.
that nonsense, again, short of a zombie apocalypse. So.
Okay, can you share your thoughts about the death penalty?
Yes, that's okay. As someone who worked in death in combat, and again, I'll leave it at that. You can use your imagination because that's not right to say what I was going to say. I value life, very much so, very much so. That being said, you harm a child, you rape and murder a child, rape and murder anybody, you've given up your right to life. And I'm not gonna again, I hesitated just to process, just for lethal injection is what I want to propose for that. So I think maybe I probably went further into that than you wanted, but that's my position on the death penalty. And yeah, no more living on death row after you've taken a life so brutally and evilly. No. On our taxpayer dollars on top of it?
Right.
No, that's just an insult. And then some people being released. Oh, that's an insult on an insult on an insult. I left one out, but yes.
Okay, if you're elected, would you join the Convention of States?
Oh boy, that comes up every now and then. And that's a hot button. So here's what I would say. If we got to that point, it's constitutional. It's constitutional. And I'm a constitutionalist. So if we got to that point, I'm in. If we got to that point. So I encourage everybody to look up what we're talking about here. I have, if we got to that point. We could argue we're there now. But yeah, I'm a big fan of states' rights. I think you heard that earlier. And, but let's work through it. We have hope.
I think this should be fast because I thought I heard you say something about it, but apparently, what do you think about the situation with bears being shipped into Washington State?
That was it.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Okay. Okay. And then, what are your thoughts on the having a debate?
Yeah.
Gubernatorial debate.
Yes.
Oh, I'd love
Where
to
is the
see
debate? So, yes. Can you tell what my thoughts were? So we were supposed to have a debate on February 8th. And folks changed their minds. And it was posted, the chairman of the party that was hosting it posted it on Facebook, so it was public. Both sides agreed to it. And we set the venue, and there's my phone, it's on my phone as well. And I showed a few people because other people said, oh no, there was no debate. If there was a debate, I would have known about it, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's okay, it's okay. Love and grace. But there was a debate. And there should have been a debate. And by the way, on debates, we don't disrespect one another. We never disrespect one another. Not like those federal debates where you're at each other like, no, that was gross to me. Let a person finish her thought, respectfully, let them answer the question, and then bring in your counter if that's what you're gonna do. But respect for one another. And I have nothing but respect for the other gentleman who's running for office. Nothing but. And so yes, debate. We should have had a couple of them. And we should have forums together. And this whole idea that one candidate is higher or more deserving than another. Did I mention civil rights? In the Civil Rights Act, this is America. Who deems that a candidate is viable or not viable other than the citizens of the state through their vote? Would you agree with that? You have to be careful in this. And that statement was meant with full English definition. Respect. This is America. Everybody's viable in America.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yep.
This whole idea that a certain group of individuals chooses for the people who's going to be their candidate, that is not of the people, by the people, for the people. That is of some of the people, for some of the people with this maybe, and no, we're not doing that. I kind of went too far with that in terms of explanation, but I'm passionate about this. This is probably just a debate question, but I'm passionate. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's present options for our citizens to show the comparison and contrast so that they can have a choice and make an educated decision. That's what we should be doing. Yes.
Yep. Will you endorse Trump?
Yes.
Woo!
I should have put a timer on that. How much of a hesitation was there? But yes. Well, yeah, simplify. No, there's no hesitation on that. And by the way, President Trump, we have two different communication styles, he and I, right? But we're equal in passion for making America great and making Washington State great again. That is something that we must do. And then also having the strength and fortitude to carry it through, not being influenced by any groups. That's one of the things that I really like about our president, our former president, will be our president again, is that whether you like or disagree with his rhetoric or his tweets or what have you, which again, I have my issues with some of them, no, we need someone who will stand for the people and who cannot be controlled by others. Because I'll tell you what, if other people have their way, I would not be here right now. Step aside. We'll put money in that account. We'll put checks will be written for that account, Lieutenant Governor. Oh yeah, here's my phone. I don't play it, and I don't lie, but contrary to, I see that with love.
How would you make housing affordable?
Oh gosh, here we go. Well, we should be, not this natural gas law that was just passed, right? Not that. We deregulate, so our builders, deregulate for our builders, lower taxes, incentivize for our builders, partner with the building industry, partner with developers. And by the way, I'm a separation, I'm a self-governance guy, I'm a separation of powers, so the governor should never get into the county or municipal level. It's wrong, it's because that's the people who do that, right? But we need to deregulate, and this is about how we section off land. That's at the people's level. But if we were to, how should I say, build more units, because we are short on units, housing units for Washington State. And to put that very plainly, we have overregulated and overtaxed builders so much that they're not building enough houses, they're not building enough apartment complexes to keep up with the demand. So supply and demand raises cost. Common sense, free enterprise market. This is the difference. Resume, macroeconomics, consultant for businesses, where I go into a corporation, I say, show me your books. Yes, I know how to read them. I know the coding of revenue and expenses, reading revenue cycles. I know the construction industry. I know civil engineering, capital projects. That's a huge expenditure for our state. So short of being able to do the calculations for structural engineering, I got you. There's so much we could say, you guys. But affordable housing, we need to build more units. We need to pull back on our taxes for housing. Because again, when you raise taxes, those building owners are paying more taxes. And when they pay more taxes, they have to charge more for the units. It's the same thing if someone had a house that they rented out. You raise the property taxes, guess what? They have to charge more for the rental. So let's lower the cost so they can bring those affordable houses in the market and partner with small business developers or large developers so they can build more units and then contract with them to make some of those units part of affordable housing units. And a long-term contract, that's money in the bank for these guys. It's an asset for them. And a long-term contract to keep their prices right here or their rents right here, they will do that voluntarily, not us, we the government, making mandatory ceilings on rent. That usually results in owners rushing to raise prices or raise rentals, just because they know if you use it or lose it. So I'll stop there.
Okay, are you willing to condemn the threats that your supporters made against people who support your opponent?
Oh, 100%. So 100, and it's not just willing. So let's go with fact and on verba, deeds, not words. I do a podcast. I'll be doing one this Thursday. I've been doing a podcast. I think I'm going on episode 19. So you'll find in my podcast, has anybody ever listened to my podcast? Has anybody ever heard me say, be nice, stop calling names, do not use terms like rhino? Yes, I've gone on my supporters thing, and I didn't create it, nor am I an admin, nor do I have admin access. And I saw stuff, not that I have time to read posts, and I literally went in all caps, stop calling names. So yes, it's not how I do business. Calling names, it's not who I am, and I think it detracts from the campaign when we have to do that. I would rather you talk about my positions. Yeah, you want to say Simi Bird and 2 others were recalled from the school board because they dared to value parents' rights. They were against critical race theory. They were giving mass choice.
Yep.
Those notorious, no good constitutionalists. Or the other person, you know, if you're down with cap and trade and vaccinations and mandates, well then there's your huckleberry. I mean, do that. Don't call names. Give the facts. I mean, yeah, I can go on in this stuff. Be nice, be respectful. No one deserves to be character assassinated. No one does. Hopefully I answered that. Yeah, it's not willing to do it. I've been doing it, and I'm on paper, I'm on audio, I'm on video doing it. Yeah, and I'll do it again. I think I'm on video now.
Recently you said that you would propose a bill to retroactively seize property owned by the CCP.
Yeah.
How do you square that with the 10th Amendment?
Yeah, well, 10th Amendment, we're talking states' rights, but the way I swear it is not seizing land. So again, yeah, not seizing, not in my, well, it's in my vocabulary, but I didn't use that word. No, it's, we're gonna pass a law. I wanna propose a law, which is in my rights under Article 3. What I have said is that we're gonna tell them they have to put that property on the market. I'm not gonna allow China to buy up land, agricultural land in Washington State. For me, any land. And so, yeah, it's a national security thing, and it really is for me. And some of you know, maybe you don't know, I worked international intelligence and counterterrorism. My human trafficking wasn't for pharmaceutical companies, it was to hunt down bad people who were dealing in people's lives, and then bring them to justice. I'll leave that at that, because I don't know. And then I just say counter-narco-terrorism. So, yeah, no, we don't seize anything, but no, they'll have time to put it on the market, fair market value, and they're gonna have a timeline on that for closing. And then, yeah, they're gonna lose their land. So, but sell it, get your money. You're gonna have it back, China, but no, you're not, and then you're not buying anymore. And that needs to be broadened, and not just for China. There's other threats, and I hope you guys can understand this. They tried to take our natural resources and put that on the Security and Exchange Commission. They did a proposal to make it a category so they can buy and sell our natural resources.
Wow.
It's true, in January. I wrote in on that nonsense, right? Oh, I wrote in on that and said, no, no, not at all, so, yeah.
What's your position on the capital gains tax?
Well, good thing we have an initiative to get rid of it, because I don't support it. It's an income tax. No.
Okay. Can you comment on why did you leave the Patriot Builders off your resume?
Oh gosh, no. I left a lot of things off my resume. So, and by the way, guys, if you have any questions on what people can say, hit pieces or this, ask me. It's not disrespectful. It's not something I'm gonna walk away from or hide from. If you have any, ask me. Patriot Builders was my company. I own it. It's a construction company. And I know someone went in and said, oh, he had a arbitration judgment. Has anybody ever owned a construction company? Yeah, if you have, a lot of people have gone through arbitration. It's not lawsuit, it's pre. But that was paid. I was licensed, bonded, and insured. My company, I closed down. I did. And by the way, it's on I think the state's website for corporations that says voluntarily dissolved. That's the term you use where you close down your company. So I retired. But by the way, when I had Patriot Builders, I was working as a federal director with the U.S. Department of Energy. I was executive in residence at Washington State University. I had other jobs. I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I had Team Concepts, another company, that somebody said, I work for Patty Murray teaching DEI. And so people are, yeah, oh no, but yet here in Kitsap County, I was teaching, was it no CRT? Which is almost like, it's crazy. It's almost like a priest or a preacher dealing in Satan or something. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. So if I answer the question, it's like, no, I closed my company, I retired. And Team Concepts, my website is still up, but I haven't closed that down only because Team Concepts shows a lot of what I used to do to help corporations perform better and my skill sets in arbitration and mediation and those things so that people can see my resume for serving as a governor. That's why I left that up. But I haven't done anything with picture builders in years.
So
Thanks,
we're
Roxanne.
out of time. Thank you, everybody. Please join me in